Hey there, bosses. Corey from the Being Boss team here. I'm popping in to let you know about a new way for you to stay up to date in the world as a creative entrepreneur. Brood. Brood is a weekly email curated by the Being Boss team just for you. We share articles, podcasts, and resources from around the internet on the topics of mindset, money, and productivity to help you show up and do the work in your business. Learn more and sign up for free at beingboss.club/brood. That's beingboss.club/BREWED.
Welcome to Being Boss, a podcast for creatives, business owners, and entrepreneurs who want to take control of their work and live life on their own terms. I'm your host, Emily Thompson, and today I'm joined again by Corey from the Being Boss team to have a chat about 4 must-have boundaries for boss CEOs. As always, you can find all the tools, books, and links we reference on the show notes at www.beingboss.club. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show and share us with a friend. Sometimes seeing someone else's path to success helps us clearly map out our own. It's why we all like business podcasts, right? Well, I'm here to share a show for you to check out, the Female Startup Club podcast, an amazing resource that shares insights and learnings from the world's most successful female founders, entrepreneurs, and women in business. In a recent episode, I loved hearing about how Michelle Grant, the founder of Lively, the lingerie and swimwear brand, built and sold her company for $105 million in just 3 years. Total boss move. So if you're looking for a new pod to inspire your next steps, listen to the Female Startup Club podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Hi, Corey. Are you ready to talk about boundaries?
Nope.
I've
been dreading this conversation because I have no boundaries, and I'm just going to be sad this entire time.
That's funny that you say that because I was going to open this conversation with, can you rate your boundaries on a scale of like 1 to 5? And it sounds like maybe 0 would be your answer.
So like how many boundaries I have, or like how efficient they are?
How effective they are. Or the presence of them.
I'd give it a solid 2.
Solid 2
out of 10. So 1 out of 5.
Congratulations. Alternatively, I think on a scale of 1 to 5, I would probably have to say a 4 most days. Maybe 5 some days. Sometimes a 3.
So why is it not all the way a 5?
Because I am underestimating myself.
Ooh,
I know, right? I think I have really great boundaries personally. There are definitely times when I maybe don't have the best. Actually, yesterday I was having a conversation with Mary on our team, and I told her, we were looking at my calendar, and I was like, look, my calendar this week is a little bit nuts. In the future, I want to make sure that it doesn't end up this way. And I was like, and here is why it's like this. I will often sacrifice myself to get things done. So I know if I literally said that to a team member yesterday, then I can't say a 5 today. How about that?
Yeah. My issue is that, well, one of many, is that I work with clients and people all over the world. And so like when their working hours are like normal, I'm asleep. But like I feel compelled to answer right away because it's like a normal time for them. I don't want to have to like wait a day to like actually have a conversation with them. So it's just.
Wait, are you literally waking up from sleep to talk to people?
Well, if I'm asleep on the couch, yes.
So your boundary is your bed.
Pretty much, actually, yes.
That's hysterical. And I feel like we should have a conversation about this later. For sure, Corey. I feel like I need to help you build some stronger boundaries. Everyone should know that I do not slack Corey in the middle of the night. This is not me.
She'll only slack me on Sundays, but she's very adamant about making us know that she does not expect us to respond on Sundays.
Exactly.
So.
If I ever am working on a weekend, and often I will, sometimes I'm working the Almanac shop. And so I'll tell the team, in our usual Wednesday meetings, look, y'all, I'm working this weekend. Just because I'm in Slack doing things does not mean by any means that I require a response. I'm just in there doing things. So I do always make that very clear. I'm not expecting anyone to work outside of their boundaries on most cases, for sure.
But then there's me that doesn't have boundaries, and I'll just respond anyway.
Right. Well, you're not the only one.
All right. So before we get too far into this, can you define boundaries for us and why they're a core principle of what being boss is all about?
Yes. So boundaries are a core principle, a core foundation of what we do here. If you haven't picked up the Being Boss book, or if you haven't dove very deep into what it is that we do here, we identify a couple of core foundations of being boss. And these are things that we defined for having these conversations years ago and still hold true. They are the chapters of the Being Boss book, where you can buy anywhere books are sold. And they are as follows. Boundaries. Nope, that's a lie. First is mindset. Then boundaries, habits and routines, community, work, and life. And these are the things that we're always talking about here. These are sort of the framework through which we have, or the lens through which we have conversations with our guests. Like I said, they are the chapters of the Being Boss book. Boundaries are a core part of what it means for us to show up and do the work and otherwise be boss. To be boss, you have to have boundaries. And boundaries exist to help you protect your resources. They help you protect your time, your money, and your energy, all of which sometimes we'll just sort of refer to collectively as energy, or they are your sort of most important resources. And this can be your time, money, and energy. It can be someone else's time, money, and energy that you are responsible for. Boundaries are there to help you protect your resources. Without them, you'll find yourself feeling scattered and spread thin, and likely not actually achieving what it is that you want to achieve. But with them, you're able to prioritize what you need to do in your work and in your life. With them, you are able to show up and be boss. So I will oftentimes in my conversations with other bosses have discussions about boundaries, and the presence of boundaries is oftentimes the presence and respect of boundaries is oftentimes the gauge by which I can determine sort of quote unquote how boss someone is, right? Are they able to define boundaries for themselves and uphold them in the areas of their work and life that are important to them? And today's conversation is about CEOs in particular. So the people who are here to run a business from the top, to be the chief executive officer, to be the person who's making the decisions and moving your business forward. And oftentimes CEOs are thought of as, the sort of boss of corporations, but I think that even a solopreneur can be a CEO. There are times when you need to put on that hat and do some important things in your business to make sort of overarching and bird's eye view decisions in your business. So whether you are a company of one or a company of 2,500, you sometimes need to be the CEO. And a CEO has great boundaries. So today I'm excited to dive into what some of those boundaries are.
Hold up.
Yep.
So you're saying with boundaries, I can be happier, healthier, more productive, and more successful? What is this nonsense?
Corey, how many of these episodes have you edited in your lifetime?
Well, over time, they just kind of like become white noise. I don't actually know what you're saying anymore, but I pick up.
Now that you're here actively listening, you're engaged and enthralled.
I think the only actual boundary I have is with my email. Like, I don't respond to emails on weekends and stuff. That's really the only one I have, I think.
Corey. Okay, well, I've got 4 for you today.
Oh, ooh, okay.
That,
what are they?
right, are kind of like big overarching ones that trickle down into some smaller boundaries. I identify these as being some of the most important ones. I have friends, y'all. I have all kinds of really cool business friends. And I'm able to have some really great conversations with people who are CEOs of their creative businesses. In the C-suite in particular, we have bosses in there who are making multiple six figures up to seven figures. I have long-term relationships with amazing people in both online and offline industries. And we're often talking about boundaries. And so today it's a nice like culmination of these years of conversations that I've had with these people about what boundaries they have in place to help them be successful. So these are the boundaries of successful CEOs. And I want to first sort of define what I mean by a successful CEO, because there are a lot of, I think, incorrect definitions of what a successful CEO is.
It doesn't necessarily mean millionaire.
No.
Yeah.
No, because if you're a millionaire and miserable, not successful in my eyes. I define successful as you have a good work-life flow. So there's like this, I don't want to call it balance because that's a weird place. Actually, we talk about work-life balance a bit in a recent episode that we did. I think it's episode 275, something about hustling. It's like,
is hustle good or bad?
There you go. That one. We talk about what it means to have work-life flow versus work-life balance. So I think a successful CEO has a good work-life flow. They're able to work and live. Their business makes good margins. And by that, I mean not necessarily that you are making millions of dollars, but that you are making money. And a good chunk of that money is profit. I have met CEOs of businesses that make a couple $100,000 who aren't, making 25 million, but they have really healthy, amazing margins in their business. That is a CEO. That is someone who is making really smart decisions in their business. They sort of have their fingers in all of the important parts of their business, and they're making very wise choices for their businesses. And I identify a successful CEO as someone who has good relationships with their team and their family and their friends. And like some of that has some asterisks because you can't always like choose your family in particular. And sometimes things happen with friends and like some team dynamics, whatever. But in general, you have good relationships with the people in your life, and you have good relationships ties back to that idea of good work-life flow. You are able to pay attention to the people in your life who need attention when it's time because you have boundaries, basically, which we'll be getting into. So for me, a successful CEO is someone who has good work-life flow. Their business has good margins, and they, for the most part, have good relationships with their team, family, and friends.
We also have a worksheet to help you get started with finding your work-life balance. It's the work-life balance worksheet. We'll make sure that's in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you for that. It's
actually, I guess the actual worksheet's called Being a Balanced Boss, but it's the work-life balance worksheet. It'll be there.
Perfect. Glad to hear it. And I do also want to throw in here that when it comes to being a successful CEO and the sort of three ways that I identify someone who is successful as a business leader of their business, is that even though there are those three things that I think in general hold true, these people aren't getting it right all the time, right? Sometimes boundaries slip, but the difference is that they are always working to hold them and redefine them, both against others and, here's the tricky one, against themselves.
Even Oprah is not perfect. Oh, I'm just kidding. She's literally perfect, but maybe Brene Brown's not perfect. No, she's pretty perfect too. These are bad examples.
Right. I'm not.
Yeah,
how about that? We'll go with that one. We'll go with that one's an easy one. Perfect. So the idea here is that sharing 4 boundaries that I've identified amongst successful boss CEOs that are in our audience and community, but also from conversations that I've had with guests who have been on this show. And I'm ready to do this. Are you ready to do this?
Maybe. We'll see how it goes, but yes.
You like trembling in your boots over there? Corey feels like he's gone to the principal's office.
I never went to the principal's office except for that one time, but that didn't count. So is that what this feels like?
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. When it comes to growing your business, integrating the right tools at the right time to help you get the job done can be tricky. But the HubSpot CRM platform is a tool that can take the headache out of scaling your business, and it will continue to grow with you. But don't just take it from me. I understand the value of bosses sharing what's worked for them along their entrepreneurial journey. That's why today I'm bringing you the experience of a real boss using HubSpot to take her business to the next level.
My name is Kim Dow, and I'm the owner and publisher of SaaS Magazine, a Being Boss podcast fan, and a HubSpot CRM customer. So for our business, running a magazine, we have 3 very different lists. Each of those audiences have very different interests and different goals. HubSpot allows us to create segmented and targeted lists to ensure that we're communicating and marketing to each audience group very effectively. And using HubSpot has played a huge role in helping to increase our open and click rates and to ensure that our readers stay subscribed to our e-newsletters. We love all of the features of HubSpot, and we've really been using it this past year to help grow our business. Throughout the holidays and into 2022, we'll be using HubSpot to set up more automation, such as chat flows and more list building tools. This will allow us to become more productive and more efficient in our time and our workflow. This is Kim Dow from SaaS Magazine, and my HubSpot CRM platform helps my business stay connected. Learn more about how it can do the same for yours at HubSpot.com.
So what is boundary number 1?
Boundary number 1 is boundaries, having boundaries around your own energy. Think about that one. Your face just went real blank.
That could mean a couple of things. So what do you mean?
It does. Okay, so this does mean a couple of things. One, it also just generally requires you to know yourself, which is another one of those sort of mindset things at Being Boss. One of my favorite sort of maxims of Being Boss is owning who you are, knowing what you want, and actually making it happen. And you can't own who you are if you don't know who you are. So you kind of have to do that work first, right? And to know who you are, you need to understand how your energy works. What sort of tasks give you energy or drain your energy? What kind of people give you energy or drain your energy? You have to know these things about yourself. And then you have to create boundaries to protect your energy. One of the ways that you can do this is removing energetic drain. So once you know the things that drain you, remove them from your existence. This can be people. It can be tasks or responsibilities. It can be bad habits. Maybe you spend too much time scrolling on Instagram. Maybe you're a bit of a workaholic. Maybe you answer Slacks on the couch in the middle of the night. Maybe you have like a negative self-talk or are just consistently talking negatively about anything and everything around you. Maybe you just simply need to turn off your notifications. Right? So you need to identify the things in your life that drain your energy and remove them. By doing that, you're able to, in one case, create boundaries around your own energy. Corey, you look pensive. What do you need to remove?
I'm actually kind of proud of myself because I do remove like the toxic people. Like I do not have toxic people in my life, and I haven't in a long time. Like,
love that for you.
Like just what?
Bye.
Bye. But yeah, Slack gets me. Notifications get me.
You know what I love to do? And we've talked about this in a previous episode, but if you guys haven't missed it, or if you missed it, if you go to the top right corner of your Mac, there's a little like 3 lines and 3 dots. If you click on that, scroll down or scroll up. It's like above what you can see. There is a do not disturb toggle that you can just click. And for the next, I think 24 hours or at least till the end of the day, your notifications are off on your computer. It's one of my very favorite features.
And see, I do that. Like I only have Slack on my computer and my phone, and I just turn off my computer when I'm done working, but it's always on my phone. And I have that little do not disturb thing. Like I know where it is. Yep. I know how to use it, but I'm afraid to use it because what if like there's an emergency, but I've turned off all of the things and I can't answer that emergency.
Corey, are you a brain surgeon? Do you deliver babies?
Maybe. You don't know my life.
You do a little bit.
But also no.
right? That I don't think there's an emergency that turning off your notifications for a few hours, could keep you from dealing with. Just saying. Just saying.
So that's where you need a boundary. Okay.
Okay, yep. That's what it looks like. Sometimes there's a lot of mindset work that goes around building boundaries for yourself, for sure. Another way that I like to encourage people to build boundaries around their energy is prioritizing self-care, healthcare, and generally sleep. Because this is just you taking care of yourself. And if you can't build boundaries around taking care of, well, I say that, but I feel like that's actually some of the last boundaries that people are okay creating. However, good practice, everyone. Create some boundaries around prioritizing yourself. So for me, this looks like being in bed at 10 p.m. every night. That is my boundary. If I'm up past 10, y'all don't want to talk to me in the morning. No one wants to see any of that, right? Self-care, I've mentioned often. I like to take Sunday self-care showers. They're very long, very quiet. No one interrupts me. It's fantastic. And there are other things that you can do. Define it for yourself, little things. And again, sometimes there's a lot of mindset work that has to go into this. So if you are one of those people who's sitting there going, well, I can't, I don't want to, mental block, work through that a little bit for yourself. Very important. I actually highly recommend for anyone who is, let's say running a fast growing business, 3 kids at home, in all of your time is eaten up by all the things, go back and listen to the episode that we recently did with Amy Koretsky around breath work. Because I do think that if you are doing nothing else, breath work is a really great, easy way, accessible by anyone and everyone to facilitate a little bit of self-care into your life and hopefully improve your healthcare and sleep while you're at it.
That is episode 271.
Thank you, Corey.
I'm on it.
Another way that you can build some good boundaries around protecting your own energy is to be very careful what you say yes to and to otherwise practice saying no. And this can be to clients who drop into your inbox. This can be projects that, fly across your desk. Do things still fly across people's desks? I don't think
Mine, yes, but
okay.
It's like candy and stuff. It's not actually
Look,
tasks.
You could say yes or no to those too.
No, I
sure.
can't. I can't say no to those.
This could be really cool or not so cool opportunities. It can be meetings or events or you being asked to do another thing, whatever it may be. Learning how to say yes, identifying what to say no to is really important for creating boundaries. And I think particularly about a boss recently who was having a conversation with a group of us about why it is that she says no to so many meetings and shared with us the snowball effect that happens when you say yes to one meeting that you don't have to go to, and how saying yes to one 30-minute meeting could equate to 3 or 4 hours of your week being eaten up, because a meeting always has follow-up, it always has action items, it always has all of these things that go into it. And simply by saying no to one meeting, you could be saving hours of your week every single week. A good CEO knows that and knows when it's worth it to say yes and when simply to say no.
I can actually think of a very specific example. So with my work at Biddy Tarot, I'm their front-end website developer and their CRM specialist. And I work very closely with pretty much everybody, marketing team, the help desk team. But we noticed that my time was being sucked dry by these very sneaky tasks. So we use Asana for our task management, everything. And we have Slack for team communication. And I live and die by my task list, but people on Slack will send me very sneaky DMs hey, can you go take care of this real quick? Thinking it's a very quick task, but really it's a hour-long task. And if I go and do that thinking it's important, I won't get to my task list that day. And so we've very intentionally said, hey, if you need Corey to go do something and it's not actually critical, it's not breaking something actively, go task it to him. He can get to it later this week or next week.
Yeah, perfect. Great example. And feel free to raise your hand if you can connect, identify with that at all. because there are so many sneaky little tasks that come in. You have to know how to manage your time and otherwise just when to say yes to something, when to say no. As I was thinking about this, I went back to the Being Boss book, obviously, to see what Kathleen and Emily said about this years ago. And boy, did we say some great things. But
you're just patting yourself on the back.
Well, I'm actually about to say who did a better job, though, is Brene Brown.
Oh, okay. You can pat her on the back all you want.
Right. We have a quote from Brene in the Boundaries chapter of the Being Boss book that I think perfectly defines anyone who's having any struggles with this. And she says very geniusly that daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others.
So that's the other thing that we discovered is that I'm a people pleaser. And I don't want to say no to people.
You just now discovered that, Corey?
Okay. I hate saying no to people.
Yeah.
Because I want to make everybody happy. But it's usually got the detriment to myself.
Indeed. And so the goal here is not for you to build boundaries around everyone else's expectations of you. It's around building boundaries to protect your energy because you're able to show up better, happier, all the things when you are taking care of your energy first.
Yeah.
I do think that one of the key elements of defining this for yourself, for anybody, is to know your values, to identify what energizes you, and to know what drains you. And there's a couple of places around the Being Boss sphere where you can find help with some of these things. One is in that Being Boss book that really is very fantastic when it comes to talking about boundaries. You can buy that anywhere books are sold. Again,
beingboss.club/book.
Thank you very much. There's also a values quiz that we created several years ago that's still really great. You can do that quiz at beingboss.club/values. It will give you some intro values to begin you down that path of really pinpointing just the ones for you. And values is a part of the CEO Day Kit, which is a kit of tools that we've created to help CEOs do 12 months of business planning in a single day. I'll be talking about that more in a moment, but identifying your values is one of the steps of that, where I, via video and worksheet, am walking you through that process so that you can identify your values for both yourself and your business. So that sort of wraps up boundary number 1, and that is for you to create some boundaries around your own energy. Protect yourself because you are the most important asset to your business. If you're not protecting yourself, you're not serving yourself or your mission.
So boundary number 1 was a huge one.
The
but
biggest.
Boundary number, the biggest. But number 2 is also kind of a biggie. It's important. Yeah. All of them are important. But number 2 is also like kind of a biggie. What is it?
It is having boundaries between your work and life. Simple. Simple as that. The most successful CEOs that I know work and then they live. And very rarely is there a ton of overlap. And sometimes there are. Sometimes there's a bit of overlap, but it's very intentional overlap. Like maybe they're traveling for a business thing and going to have fun while they're doing it. Or maybe they are taking a vacation and really just want to play with that spreadsheet while they're there. Not because they have to, but because that's their idea of having a good time. Raise his hand. That would be me sometimes. But great CEOs have great, I think successful by my boss terms, CEOs have really great boundaries between life and work. So this looks like not answering emails at the dinner table, right?
Guilty.
Oh, damn. Corey, I don't mean to shame you, but ouch. I mean, you do you, but if you want to be a successful CEO, you're going to create those boundaries. And here is why. Because you have to make sacred, to place in utmost priority, family, friends, personal time, and alternatively, work. So that you can give the things that you are there to give attention to your full attention. When there is a lot of blend between work and life, you are like, on a walk with your kid, but like scrolling through your email, or you are sitting in a meeting with your team and like looking at your personal Insta or whatever it may be, you're doing anyone and everyone that you were around, including yourself, a disservice. Whenever you can be fully present in the moment, whether that be walking down the street with your kid or sitting in a meeting with your team, you are able to make that much more impact and create better relationships in both work and life and or yourself. If you're sitting there, yogaing in your bedroom floor and you end up checking your email, Zen broken immediately.
Wait, you can check email while yogaing?
I mean,
are you like holding your phone while like doing all these yoga poses?
I'm just imagining you're like sitting there in child's pose.
Okay.
Then you just pick up your phone for a scroll, right?
Well, I'm just
you're
thinking
not doing anyone a
if
good
you're
service.
holding your phone while doing yoga, I think you're doing yoga wrong.
Fact. Though you may answer your emails a little more kindly, I suppose. But you're not doing your yoga a good job. So building some really great boundaries between your life and work, being very intentional when there is overlap, and being very intentional to not have overlap in some big important places as well is really important. Some of the examples that I love for this are things like having some clear boundaries around email or otherwise communication or otherwise just work in general when it comes to creating times when you're working and times when you're not. I also love the one where you don't take your phone into the bedroom. Like that's like a very physical boundary. And that's not one that I prescribe to necessarily, but I have some good boundaries around not getting on my phone or not being on my phone at night or in the morning. I love that your hand is up. Can you read this, Corey?
Well, actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
About the physical space.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially in the past couple of years with the whole, quarantine pandemic thing, but even before then, a lot of people work from home that are creative entrepreneurs or just small business owners. How do you separate the work from life if you're working from home?
Right? You say this to me as I see you at your desk with your bed behind you.
So yes, this is a very real thing for me. So I used to have a dedicated office in my house, but then my nephews moved in and I no longer have an office. My office is in my bedroom. So I'm literally working where I sleep. How do I separate them? There's no door anymore.
I do think this is one where there is no right or wrong. Yeah. Everyone just has what works for them. Because I think a lot of the advantage of working for yourself, of, being the boss of your business, whatever, is that you can work from wherever. And if that's you wanting to work from bed on a Wednesday, love that for you. Yeah. Right? Or if you are in a work from home situation where your desk is in your bedroom or your kitchen table is your desk or whatever it may be, I think that's fine. What I do think works well is having a designated place for work.
Yeah.
And so maybe, let's say you are working from your kitchen table. At the end of the day, put your stuff up and put your things in your work corner, right? Or whatever it may be. And you can take them back out tomorrow. But otherwise, having that bit of physical separation, I think for you, you have your work corner in your bedroom. Have a backpack to put your things in, your work backpack or whatever it may be, just to sort of tidy things up and create that space. And I say that as someone who likes really tidy spaces. I personally just sort of generally need that. I think there is some separation you can create. But I think that you need to know if you're the kind of person who needs it or not. Some people don't mind keeping their things on their dining room table. Some people, it drives them nuts to have their things on the dining room table. That would be me. So know what kind of person you are. Create the physical space that you need between work and life and work with what you have. I, a couple of years ago, went back to an office. So I have an office where I come to work, and I love having this separation of work and life. I've gone through several cycles. Sometimes I'll work from home for a couple of years, and I'll go to an office for a couple of years, and I'll go back home for a couple of years because I've been doing this for over a decade. I have that sort of track record to look back on. I'm currently in a season where I want really good separation between work and life, and that works really well for me. But sometimes I do just work from the couch, and I love working from the couch on the days that I'm working from the couch. So physical boundaries can be a little muddier depending on what you need. What is imperative is time. Creating those boundaries around time is super important. Making sure you have work time, life time, and if there is going to be a blend, making sure it is incredibly intentional and not detrimental to either.
My constant struggle is that because I'm working in my bedroom now and my dog's always with me and the sun is always shining in the windows behind me, he gets bathed in the sun on my bed while I'm over here slaving away. I just want to go cuddle with him, but I can't.
I get it. You should have a little a Danny cuddle time.
Oh, I do. I make time for that.
Good. I love that. Love that for both of you. Have you ever wanted to sell digital products for your business but found yourself having to decide which one based on what your website would allow? This plugin will let you sell ebooks but not courses. This app makes it easy to sell webinars but not memberships. It's annoying to think that you have to limit your business model because of the limitations of a digital tool. So, stop weighing the options of what and choose them all by signing up for Podia. Podia is an all-in-one digital storefront that makes it easy for you to sell everything on a single platform so that you don't have to choose just one type of digital product. You can sell online courses, digital downloads, memberships, and webinars all in one place on Podia. Sign up for a 14-day free trial and get 15% off for life by going to podia.com/bosses.
Okay. So that's the first two boundaries. So boundary around your own energy, boundary around your life and work. What's boundary number 3?
Oh, this is a good one. Yeah, this could be life or work. I'm thinking particularly for work, but I think it works great for life as well. And that is having boundaries around what it is that you are doing. Successful CEOs know what their core genius is. They know what their roles are in their business, and they know, or that's just what they do. That's it. Anything that not only they can do is delegated to someone else, so that when they are showing up to work, they are working on the things that are theirs to work on, that is their core genius, where they're going to make the most impact. And that's it.
And I have to applaud you. Because you've been really good about this lately. You have been awesome about letting things go and delegating and just not worrying about it. Like the whole Brood newsletter, you're barely touching that. What?
Right? I come in and do my very top level sort of planning and parsing, and then just let the team do the thing because I don't need to write it. I don't need to edit it. I don't need to put it in the email service provider. I don't need to do any of those things. And it leaves me available to just show up and do the high level things, or even sometimes the lower level things that are just my core genius that I'm really great at.
And honestly, that's kind of how Being Boss started back in the day. Back when we still had Indie Shopography, a website design business, when you hired a dedicated designer and who else did you hire? A couple other people. You freed up yourself to only focus on the coaching for the clients, but that also gave you a lot of free time to just randomly go start a podcast.
Right. And also just get in more clients. Indy was growing into quite the agency there for a minute because I wasn't designing and coding all the websites. I was selling, coaching, doing all of that very top level stuff. And then also was able to start this podcast and all the things that have gone along with it. Right. And so I feel like this is another one of those really key factors of are you a CEO is can you delegate? And I know a lot of bosses really struggle with this. They don't want someone else messing it up. They think that they're the only ones who can do it, etc. I hear all of the things. I've heard them all many, many times before. And I will tell you that very beautiful things happen when you get past those. 100%. You are able to free up so much more of your time whenever you are delegating the things that not only you can do. I actually recently did this. I mean, it's something that you actually do all the time, but I did this recently. I was looking at my calendar. I had a lot of things on it, and I was thinking, what of these meetings and things on my calendar do I not have to do that literally anyone else or someone else on the team can do? And I passed off several meetings and check-ins and hosting things to other members on the team so that I could have some time back to do some other bigger picture and otherwise necessary things that needed to be done. But there is also another piece of this as well. It's not just handing it off. It's also staying out of the way and letting your people do what they need to do.
So what if you don't have people? Like, what if you're just starting out and you don't have a team?
Oh, that's such a good question. Let's say you're not even wanting to do team stuff yet. If you are really just a solopreneur and you plan on being a solopreneur for the, foreseeable future, going through your task list and identifying the things that don't need to be done and otherwise deleting them instead of delegating, I think is a really important task for anyone and everyone. Oftentimes, we end up with these processes within our businesses that are no longer necessary, but we're still doing them because we've always done them. And the more often we can go through those things and identify the things that no longer need to be done and remove them, the better you are going to be at putting yourself more into the role of doing just the things that you are great at, the things that move the needle in your business. If you're in that place where it's about time for you to think about hiring, think about hiring. Like really sort of start going there. And actually, I wasn't even planning on talking about this here, but there's another step of CEO Day Kit that is called Crafting Your Dream Job, which is a really great exercise for you to identify all the things in your business that you do. And if you're a solopreneur, this gives you that bird's eye view of all the things that you don't need to be doing and the things that you need to be doubling down on or otherwise spending more time doing. And if you are thinking about making your first or 15th hire, it's a really great exercise for helping you identify who it is you need to be hiring next. If you want more information about CEO Day Kit, beingboss.club/CEO. I'm going to talk about it more in a minute because we have a live CEO Day coming up soon that I'm super excited about. But being able to delegate the things on your plate that you do not need to be doing, creating boundaries around you focusing on doing the things that you are great at, which sort of plays back into that first boundary of protecting your own energy and otherwise knowing when to say yes and when to say no. But having boundaries around what it is that you're doing is another one of those important ones for being a successful CEO.
So about 2 years ago, I created a couple of Asana tasks for myself to do something, and I gave myself like a month to do them. And then that month comes along and I haven't done them. So I reschedule them for the next month. Still haven't done them. So literally 2 years have passed and I just keep rescheduling these things. I'm kind of thinking I should just delete them because they're probably not that important.
I agree. Or delegate them to someone else on the team if someone else can do it. Because that's the thing too, if you are working within a team, if there is anyone here that finds themselves in this situation and you are a part of a team, not the boss of the team, talk to your coworkers and see if someone else can help you, can take the thing off your plate. If it is something that's imperative for the mission of the company. If it is not, just delete it. We can talk about, is this a being boss thing, Corey?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
Perfect. So, identify what it is that you're great at. Do those things and otherwise pass other things along or delete them as needed.
Number 4. What is it?
Ooh, I love your enthusiasm, Corey.
I'm into my game show host personality.
I like you trying that on.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Okay, the last one I want to talk about is creating boundaries around your big vision planning. A successful CEO is driving the company forward. And again, solopreneur or boss of 50, I don't care how many there are. You are making time. You are creating sacred space for working on your business, not in your business. CEOs, successful CEOs, take big visioning of the company, of your business, incredibly seriously. And you make sacred those days where you are sitting down to review your numbers, review your metrics, create the plan, making sure that plan is aligning with your vision for where you want to be in, 5+ years, whatever it may be. Or maybe it's not 5 years. Sometimes creatives freak out. I'm one of those. Whenever you think about a 5-year vision, maybe it's just like in 6 months, right? What does this company look like in 6 months? And what do I need to do to get myself and my team, if that applies to you, to that space? So making the time, prioritizing it, putting it on your calendar, showing up and doing the work to do big vision planning is one of those key boundaries for being a successful CEO. And what this really does is it makes you proactive in your business as opposed to being reactive in your business, which means you're driving it, not being pulled behind.
And once you actually scheduled this time, don't get distracted by Slack or your emails.
Oh my God.
Turn off all of those things so you can actually focus on the task at hand.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, Corey.
I know. I'm learning something.
Absolutely. Whenever I'm doing my CEO days, and the team knows, everyone knows, I am basically dead to everyone. Pretend I do not exist. I'm turning off my Slack. I'm closing off my email. I am do not disturbing every device I have. Right? And I am making sacred this day or two that I have set aside to work on, to gain this big vision sort of perspective of what it is that we're doing. And I'm putting the pieces in their right places so that we can move forward. It's one of the things that I hear bosses struggling with all the time. I don't have time to work on my business because I'm always working in my business. Blah, 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 blah. I hear ya. Put it on your calendar. Make it a priority. Hold those boundaries. So hardcore. And show up for yourself and your company and move it forward. Be the CEO. So this little last boundary is the one that I do hear bosses concerned with the most. And I also identify as being the boundary that if you put into play sort of snowballs into so many other things. Whenever you can gain that big picture vision and know what it is that you're doing next, it's easier for you to protect your own energy because you see where you're going. It's easier for you to create work-life balance or flow or whatever you want to call it, whatevs, because you understand what you're working for. It plays into so many things, which is why several years ago we created CEO Day Kit. Setting aside this time, I think, is imperative. No, I know it is. It's imperative for you to move your business forward into the place that you want to go. So we created CEO Day Kit as a 7-step day, basically. I don't call it a course. It is not a course to me. There's nothing coursey about it. It is a toolkit that you sit down and you use at least once a year. Years and years later, I still use this. Every single year. I already have scheduled for myself my Almanac CEO Day and my Bean Boss CEO Day for the first full week in January. And I'm going to sit down and go through these 7 steps to help me identify my values. And I know my values, but check in on them, hang out with them, think about how much money I want to make and work on some money mindset things. Craft my dream job and look at the roles of my teams, because that's one of the ways that you can use this tool as well. Business model out what we're creating in 2022. Corey, are you so ready for that?
I guess it depends on what's coming.
Well, you'll know soon.
Okay.
Knowing your numbers and otherwise creating a 1-year plan for your marketing and creation and revenue. I love CEO Day.
It doesn't have to be 1 year, does it? I mean, it could be 6 months at a time. It could be a quarter at a time.
For sure. We created CEO Day Kit, so it's 12 months of business planning in just one day. I use it once a year to do a 12-month vision, and not even vision, but a 12-month roadmap to get me towards a vision. But I also touch base with it every single quarter. So there are 7 steps, I think 10-ish worksheets, if I'm not mistaken. And probably 5 of those worksheets I use consistently. There's a couple of them that I even pull out just when needed. Every time I'm making a hire, I will pull out the Crafting Your Dream Job worksheet and identify who it is that I need to hire next. What roles am I hiring for? It's a toolkit that I don't just use once a year, but consistently. And it's not just me. So many bosses, hundreds of actually, I know I've taken over 1,000 bosses through CEO Day Kit.
Oh, yeah.
In the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. It has become the tool that Being Boss has for helping creatives do business. And it is the piece of Being Boss creation that, except for the book, that I am most proud of. I'm really proud of that book, baby, for sure. CEO Day Kit is number 2. If I had like a second favorite child,
oh no,
CEO Day Kit. We did redo all the videos for CEO Day Kit last year, and I went into it thinking that I would redo so much of the content. And when I listened to it, I was like, y'all, this is great. This is still wonderful. So we have CEO Day Kit if anyone is interested in having a toolkit to assist you in creating that boundary number 4 for yourself of prioritizing and creating space for your big vision planning in your business. And oftentimes we'll get questions around, I'm just starting my business, or I haven't started it yet, or I'm making $1 million a year, or whatever it may be. Will CEO Day Kit work for me? And yes, I have taken bosses through CEO Day Kit who just have a sort of inkling of what they want their business to be. And whenever they are done, they have a roadmap for starting their business and getting it going for the next 12 months. I know bosses who have $1 million+ businesses who use CEO Day Kit to continue helping them stay in their values, identify their dream job as their business grows, to set goals for revenue, and otherwise creating a 12-month action plan. I use it for Almanac, which is a retail/product company, and I use it for Being Boss, which is an online info content creation community company. And what do we do here? We're a digital media company. I use it for Being Boss as well. Almanac is a couple years old, 4 years old. Being Boss will turn 7 this year. So it doesn't matter what kind of business you have. CEO Day Kit is so wonderful for helping creatives, especially, set aside some time and work on their business instead of in it. CEO Day Kit is there for you to access literally anytime. 24/7 access. You get all my videos, all my worksheets. Yes, Corey?
So we have a standalone version, but we also have a version that you can access if you join the Clubhouse tier of the community. So learn more about that at beingboss.club/community. But what I was going to say is that we also have a live CEO Day Kit coming up. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So we do have that 24/7 access. You can access it anytime via standalone. Just buy the kit. Enjoy. Love that for you. Or get it on subscription, basically, by joining the Clubhouse, where you get access to all kinds of other content and events as well. And Clubhouse people, because there are people, they're like, love Clubhouse members. I am doing a CEO Day Live with Clubhouse members on Tuesday, January 11th, in case you want to do it with community or otherwise need some accountability. Because I recognize that sometimes it can be really hard to show up by yourself and sit there and work through some worksheets and think about your business. You get distracted. Maybe you see those notifications coming in because you didn't turn your email off. I'm telling you, turn your email off. Just turn it off.
Learn from my mistakes. Turn those things off.
Right. But if you want to come do it with some boss friends, you can join the Clubhouse at beingboss.club/community. Put it on your calendar for Tuesday, January 11th. And I'm going to be there taking you through live every single step. It's not extra. It's just an event we're doing in the Clubhouse along with many other events that we do. I'll be taking you through every step all day long. And I'm there for Q&A and otherwise shared community with what's working and not working when it comes to all 7 steps of a CEO Day Kit and applying them to your creative business. Legit, I love this kit a ton. So if you do want to learn more about CEO Day Kit, which is the thing that Being Boss has created to help creative business owners run their business better, more proactively, with more good feels, because that's important for creatives, incredibly important. Go to beingboss.club/CEO and you'll learn more about it and gain access to either a one-time purchase of 24/7 until it dies CEO Day Kit, or join the clubhouse.
Okay, so that's all 4 boundaries. Are there more? And like, we're wrapping this up, but are there more boundaries than those main 4?
There's a million.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But no, actually, I've sat a lot and I thought about this. I want to do like 7. What are 7? Because I love the number 7 for whatever reason. But whenever I got down to it, it really is just these 4. These are 4 overarching ones that I think if you can hit these, right? If you can create some boundaries that protect your energy. And because that is time, money, and just generally energy, it sort of, is a nice umbrella for all the important things that help you do the thing, right? If you can create some boundaries between your work and life so that you can do your work and live your life, and if you can create some boundaries around what it is that you're doing so that you are showing up to do the things that you are great at and otherwise allowing other things to either fall by the wayside because they're not necessary, or delegate the things that need to be done to your team that either you have or you are building, and create some boundaries around your big vision planning, those are the must-haves. Everything else sort of falls either within those or is really just dependent on how it is that you need to be nurtured to show up and do the work. Because remember, boundaries are about nurturing and protecting. It's about you creating walls. In the book, we give the metaphor of, think of it as your garden, right? You have this green space that includes your health, your family and friends, your work, your hobbies, and you have to build a wall around it to keep out the bugs and the weeds and all of these things. Boundaries protect what you hold important, what you prioritize, and keep everything unwanted out. Without boundaries, you're going to have a weedy garden. You're going to have an ant problem too, probably. Right? But with boundaries, you're going to have the most beautiful flowers ever.
Sounds
Some
nice.
of the juiciest watermelons.
Oh, we're growing watermelons apparently. Okay.
I mean, it's a garden. I'm just thinking. You'll be able to harvest.
Okay.
How about that? Have a bountiful harvest if you protect the things that are important to you. Otherwise, you're just going to walk out with a bunch of weeds. And that's not what we're here to do, y'all. So yes, I think that those are my 4 biggest must-haves. Everything I think outside of that, unless there's just a big hole in my vision of what a successful CEO is, everything outside of that, I think, is dependent on you as a person. Maybe you need different kind of boundaries because of the way you work, and I love that for you. These are not the only 4 that you should have by any means, but I think they are the big 4 for sure.
So I've learned that I'm going to go turn off my notifications after like 6 p.m.
Yep.
I can do this.
I have discovered that my superpower is that I don't care about that red dot.
I have so many red dots.
I don't even see it. Like, what red dot? That means something? It's not supposed to have a red dot? I had no idea.
So that explains why I can never reach you when I have like a super important question. You just ignore it.
It just means that I've created some boundaries and I'm focusing on the thing that I'm doing, and I'll be with you shortly. We're not brain surgeons.
Well, high five. Proud of you.
I love it. Love it. Perfect. Well, there you go, everybody. Build yourself some boundaries. Have a beautiful, juicy garden. Come check out CEO Day Kit if you need help creating that space for yourself and otherwise want to create a really great 12-month plan for yourself. It's a ton of fun. I still use it every single year. Listen, boss, whether you're hiring your first or your 50th employee, I know that running payroll, calculating taxes, deductions, compliance is not easy. That is, of course, unless you have Gusto. Gusto is a simple online payroll and benefits platform for small businesses, like you and like me, because I use it too. Gusto automatically files your payroll taxes and directly deposits your team's pay. Plus, you can easily offer all kinds of benefits, including 401ks, health insurance, workers' comp, and more. It's the kind of tool that not only makes you a good boss, but a good boss, if you get what I'm saying. Sign up now and get 3 months free after you run your first payroll when you go to gusto.com/beingboss. That's gusto.com/beingboss. Now, until next time, do the work, be boss.
Yeah.